HOA banned me from digging a well, so I shut off water to 2,000 of their cattle forever. Do you know what it feels like to be told you can't dig a well on your own ranch? Not borrow someone's. Not tap into the city's. Just draw from the land you inherited, pay taxes on, and raise your family beside for 3 generations. That's what I was doing the morning Karen came roaring down the easement road in her golf cart faster than it probably ever moved, dust flying, sun visor flapping like a flag of incoming tyranny. I was at the drill site, boots sunk in clay, hand on the rig. We'd hit an aquifer the day before, clean, cool, pure water, right where my grandfather always said it would be. We were testing pressure before finishing the casing, and my crew was smiling ear to ear. In a region where cattle outnumber people, water isn't just life's leverage. And that's exactly what HOA Karen hated. She slammed to a stop, hoisted her weight from the cart, and stomped her crock-encased feet across the grass like she owned the planet. Her face was a permanent grimace, pursed lips, drawn brows, and cheeks redder than the sunburned sky behind her. This operation is in violation of Section 14C of our HOA Resource Code, she barked, holding up a laminated document like it was a badge of God. I blinked. You don't have jurisdiction here. This is an HOA land. She waved her arms in the air. Your easement road passes through HOA property. That gives us standing. It didn't. Not legally. I knew that. The county knew that. Hell, even the judge I'd spoken to last week about potential pushback had said the same thing. Karen, on the other hand, believed in one thing: power through fear. But I wasn't scared. Not anymore. You need to leave, I said calmly. You're trespassing. Karen's eyes darted over to my crew, who had stopped working, clearly uncomfortable. She smirked, then reached down and yanked the pressure-testing hose out of the drill line. A geyser of mud spat up, and then she waddled back to her cart and roared off. I stood there, fists clenched, heart pounding. That wasn't just interference. That was sabotage. What she didn't know what made this entire thing so jaw-dropping was what that well was really for. The HOA's entire northern boundary sat on water rights leased from my family land. Their prize cattle fields, their artificial creek, their irrigation system all tapped into a system rooted in a 1964 water access agreement my granddad had signed back when no one wanted the dusty acres near the butte. And here's the kicker. That agreement had expired last year. I hadn't said anything yet. I was waiting, giving them time to renegotiate in good faith. But Karen? She made the first strike. And now it was war. I called the sheriff, reported the sabotage, filed trespassing and property damage claims. I also called the State Water Commission and sent in footage from our cameras, a video of Karen pulling the hose, of her bragging about teaching them a lesson. I didn't even have to narrate. The tape spoke volumes. The twist. Turns out Karen wasn't even supposed to be on that easement anymore. The HOA had quietly tried to rezone part of Italy and thought no one would notice. Oh, I noticed. So I met with my lawyer that night. We reviewed the dormant clause in the expired water agreement, and I filed a motion to revoke all subterranean water access to any party not in direct land ownership of the affected parcels, which meant the HOA and its cattle operations had no legal right to a single drop. That while I was digging, it was the last clean tap into that entire basin. Karen had blocked me out of spite. 2 days later, I personally delivered the notice. Karen was hosting some ridiculous HOA board meeting in the cul-de-sac under a rented white tent with folding chairs and a microphone she definitely didn't need. "Excuse me," I said, walking right up to the mic. "Just wanted to make this public." I pulled out the stamped notice and read it aloud. Effective immediately, due to multiple trespassing violations, unauthorized interference with water infrastructure, and the expiration of all previous contractual agreements, all water access from the Oak Ridge Basin is permanently revoked for Lake Butte HOA and its affiliates. Enforcement begins 7 a.m. tomorrow. There was dead silence. Then someone from the crowd asked, "Wait, that includes the cattle line?" I nodded. Karen lunged at me like a linebacker, knocking over her own podium. "You can't do this," she screamed. "That's our water." "No," I said with a smile. "It was a favor, and that favor ended the minute you yanked that hose. And then I walked away. The fallout? Legendary. The next morning, my crew capped the main feeder valve. By sundown, HOA maintenance trucks were lined up at the fence, helplessly staring at dry pipes. By week's end, HOA ranch operations were in full-blown crisis. They had a truck in emergency water at triple the cost. One board member resigned. Another flipped on Karen, revealing that she had lied in the last meeting minutes to cover up the sabotage. But the real moment of sweet, karmic justice? A drone video surfaced uploaded anonymously showing Karen dumping bleach into one of the well pits weeks earlier, thinking it would purify the system. The State Water Board launched an investigation. Karen is now facing $180,000 in environmental fines, felony charges for contamination, and a pending civil lawsuit from the cattle co-op she thought she ruled over. Oh, and remember that little illegal rezoning they tried to sneak past the county? I bought the contested parcel at auction last Tuesday. It's now a wildlife sanctuary. You can't even step on it unless you're part of the conservation team. Karen drives past it daily, staring, stewing, and the sign at the gate? It's hand-painted. Just 3 words. Water was ours. 3 weeks after the cap went in, Lake Butte looked like a ghost town. The HOA's prized greenbelt dead. The cattle? Sold off in a fire sale. A rancher named Tucker told the local news it was the worst operational collapse in the county since the Dust Bowl. And you know what? He wasn't wrong. But the kicker? Karen still wouldn't admit she was wrong. Not even when the county issued a permanent water violation citation under her name. Not even when her own board stripped her of presidency in a public vote of no confidence. Right there under the same white tent where she once barked orders with her double chin quivering and sunglasses askew. She tried to fight back with one last desperate trick. She filed an injunction to reclaim water access, claiming imminent HOA necessity. It was tossed out in under 3 minutes. The judge barely looked up from his bench when he said, "Ms. Trask, you don't own the land. You don't control the water. And quite frankly, this court is done entertaining your delusions." I was in the room when he said it. I watched her face tighten, her lips twitch like she was about to chew her own tongue. And I almost felt sorry for her until I remembered the bleach in my well, the hose she ripped, the way she smirked when my crew stood frozen, unsure if they'd just lost their jobs. Almost. Instead, I nodded at the judge, handed him the final deed update, and walked out with every single legal weapon she thought she'd use against me flipped right back in her direction. And just when I thought things couldn't get better, twist number 2 hit. A retired hydrologist named Mr. Duval came forward with a letter from 1991 written by Karen's own father, who had originally signed the first easement deal with my grandfather. The letter clearly stated that all water used was contingent on good faith and mutual respect, and that any breach would forfeit future negotiations indefinitely. Turns out even her own blood had tried to prevent this. She burned that legacy to the ground, and all for what? To win a power trip she never actually earned. The board dissolved 2 months later. Their bylaws, funding, and even their website were archived by the county and marked inactive. HOA ceased operations after water collapse. Me? I kept building. We turned the old easement road into a native plant trail, brought in students from the AG College to study water conservation. The Whelmy grandfather's dream became part of a living water education center that serves 4 towns and 2 tribal communities. We didn't just take revenge. We built something permanent out of the wreckage. And Karen? She still drives her little golf cart. But now it's dusty, paint peeling, parked on the edge of her lot with no grass to mow, no bylaws to wave, no board to hide behind. Sometimes I see her watching us from behind her screen door as kids laugh, cattle graze on our side, and people walk freely hydrated, healthy, happy. The gate she once tried to lock, we left it open because she can't step through it anymore. She burned that right with every lie she told and every hose she yanked. So let me ask you something. Was I wrong to shut off the water when they try to drown me with their rules? True or false? The end.